Hello, I'm Sue Kimsey, and I'm going to talk about the influence of this church has had on my life. I was a Presbyterian through high school and early marriage, and then decided to move down here in 1990. And we looked into everything down here, the schools and buying a house, and it never dawned on me to look at a church, and never thought about searching for one. But we didn't have to because um, we came down here the year before we moved down, and actually on our way home we decided to stop by the high school, and it was in summer, and the only person in there was the secretary, and she was quite frank and blunt with us and said, I'm not going to give you any information until you move down here. And of course later when we came to this church it was Jan Suttle. So that was one of the first people we met. And then the mortgage company had to have an appraisal done. So we were still up in Chicago. I get a phone call from an appraiser, and his name was Pete Randa. And Pete says, asking me, why are we coming down, and when are we moving, and so on and so forth. And I said, well, we had to get down before band camp. And Pete said, oh, his son was in band. And so we talked about band camp and Foley High School. And then lo and behold, when we got down here, Pete was a member of this church. But I hadn't met him yet eye to eye. And then when we came to closing, we went to our closing at the attorney's office, and this voice yells when we open the door, hey, come on upstairs, my name is Gay. So we met Gay and her husband at the time, and of course she's Gay James now, and have been friends with her ever since. And then at the closing, in the door came the broker, which we had never met, and her name was Cynthia Malone. And so we got our closing, and we went to our house, and there was a knock on the door, and the neighbors through the woods came by to greet us, and their name was Shorty and Ella Hamburg from this church. And so about 2 days later, the knock on the door came Sanford Turner, because everybody that we had met so far sent him our way. So without a doubt, we were sent to this church by God, I guess, and it's been our church family ever since. It's just been part of the life, and it's part of the family and that. And one reason I really have been happy being a Presbyterian is the fact that this particular faith group takes care of their pastors and looks out after their pastors. They provide retirements, they provide health insurance, they provide counseling, and that's important, because if you have a good pastor, you don't want to lose them. And then the other reason I'm really a sound Presbyterian is because of the role of women in the church. And I really feel that's an important part of being a Presbyterian, is we do so much with our women. In fact, one of the early memories I have is the Presbyterian women's circles from this church, and I went to my first circle meetings, and there were 3 ladies there my age with their mothers. And so it was Linda Crosby with her mother Susie Davis. It was Kay Irwin with her mother Helen Stevenson. And it was Donna Parker with her mother Dorothy Decker. And those older ladies were such wonderful characters, and of course their daughters are still very much involved with this church. And that was a really wonderful group of people, and that was a good fellowship group, and it was a really nice influence on me when I first got down here, and made friends really quickly with all these, with Linda and Kay and Donna. And then Ella Hamburg, my neighbor through the woods, was quite a character, and she was the chairman of the building committee for building this property here. And she's the main reason that we have like 8 stalls in the women's bathroom, which makes every women's group envious that comes here to visit it, whether it's Presbyterian meeting or whatever, because you don't have to wait in line here for our washroom. And so the women of the church here have always been strong leaders, and I just think that that's made this church special in my mind. And then we've had 2 women who were employees, and the first one was Jenny Chapman, who was chairman, who was our Christian Ed director. And we did some wonderful things when Jenny was working here with Sanford, and I was chairman of the worship committee at that time. No, Christian Ed committee at that time. And we did things like intergenerational Sunday school. We had some variety shows. We just did things way off the wall. In fact, I remember the one intergenerational Sunday school where we had gave each group a Christmas carol, and then they had to do certain things with them. And one of them was the rhythm band group, and Sanford was, I can't remember the song, they probably was Joy to the World. I don't remember. We gave him the tambourine, and he was all over the place with it, and we had a lot of good laughs. And I know one had to act out, and somebody else, we had a really good time at that one intergenerational Sunday school. And then when Toby Mueller came on as assistant pastor, or associate pastor, I'm not sure the exact title, but she was a great person to have here, preached some wonderful sermons, and like in many churches, not Presbyterians, but otherwise, women can't be in the pulpit. And Toby is an example that they can be in the pulpit and preach a very good sermon and lead a good worship service. And her part in the Logos program, having the kids come after school, we at one point were up to 80 some kids on some Wednesday nights, and we did lots of wonderful things with that program too. If it hadn't been for Toby coming for that, we would missed out on a whole lot of good things. So I think that's probably enough. But the women of the church, I forgot to mention my friend Gay James, who's sitting across from me now holding the camera. And all the hours that she has put in playing and contributing her talent. I guess that's really what it all amounts to. We all have talents, and we all share them, and no one seems to object, and that's what makes this church run.